My name is Scarlett, I am 56-year-old, they say time heals wounds. But some wounds cut so deep that time alone can't mend them. I never thought I would hear words like this from someone I once called family. She looked straight into my eyes, with that icy glare of hers, and said, "You're nothing but a burden. You've always been one, and you'll never be anything else." Those words didn't just sting, they shattered something inside me. For years, I had tolerated her sharp tongue, her criticism, her constant efforts to make me feel small. I stayed quiet, because peace felt more important than my pride. I told myself, it's better to stay silent than to cause more pain. But that day, I couldn't take it anymore. That day, I realized that silence only feeds the cruelty of those who thrive on control. What she didn't know, what she never expected, was that I carried truth secrets she had buried deep that could expose her for who she really was. She had built a perfect image in front of the world, a graceful, respected woman, admired by her neighbors, cherished by her relatives, but behind closed doors, she was different, cold, manipulative, heartless. And that day, when she branded me a burden, I made a choice. I would no longer protect her lies. I would no longer carry her weight in silence. This is the story of how her cruelty pushed me to the edge and how the truth I revealed destroyed the false empire she had built around herself. To understand why her words hurt so much, you need to know where I came from. I wasn't born into wealth or privilege. My life was built on sacrifice, on quiet struggles that no one applauded. From a young age, I carried responsibilities that children shouldn't have to bear. When my parents passed away too soon, I was left to raise my younger siblings. I was only 17, but life didn't care about my age, it demanded strength. While other girls my age were dreaming of careers and weddings, I was scrubbing floors, sewing clothes late into the night, and taking on any odd job I could find just to keep food on the table. I gave up my education so my siblings could study. I gave up my dreams so theirs could live. Every time they succeeded, graduated, got jobs, built their lives, I felt proud. But deep down, I also felt invisible. By the time I got married, I thought maybe, finally, I'd have a chance to live for myself. My husband wasn't rich, but I didn't care. I just wanted love, stability, and a family of my own. But then came my mother. From the very beginning, she made it clear I wasn't enough. She picked on the smallest things, the way I cooked, the way I dressed, the way I spoke. At first, I thought it was normal. After all, many women face tension with their mothers-in-law. I told myself it would get better. I tried harder, waking up earlier, working longer, bending over backwards to please her. But nothing I did was enough. When my husband passed away unexpectedly, my world collapsed. I thought she would show compassion, maybe even kindness. But instead, her cruelty grew sharper. She would whisper behind my back, telling relatives I was weak and useless. She mocked me for not earning enough, even though I worked myself to the bone to keep the household afloat. Still, I endured. I sacrificed my own comfort to make sure her home remained stable. I looked after her when she was sick, ran errands when she couldn't, and treated her like a mother, even though she never treated me like a daughter. I had given her years of my life, years of sacrifice, silence, and swallowed pain. That's why, when she called me a burden, it wasn't just an insult. It was a betrayal of everything I had endured for her sake. The words came during a family dinner. The house was full, relatives, neighbors, even a few old friends. She loved moments like these, when she could shine in front of others. I had been in the kitchen all day, preparing food, making sure everything was perfect. By the time we sat down, I was exhausted but relieved. For once, maybe, I could just eat quietly and enjoy the company. But she didn't allow that. As the laughter flowed and conversations filled the room, she leaned forward, her voice just loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's a shame. After all these years, she's still nothing but a burden. Always taking, never giving." The room went silent. My hands froze mid-bite. I felt the blood drain from my face. I wanted to disappear into the floor. Some relatives exchanged awkward glances. A few tried to laugh it off. But her words had already pierced me. They weren't just private insults anymore, they were public humiliation. She had always belittled me behind closed doors. But this time, she wanted the world to see me as worthless. She wanted to strip me of the little dignity I had left. And in that silence, something broke inside me. For years, I had let her define me. For years, I had accepted her cruelty as my fate. But in that moment, sitting at that table, I realized she thrived on my silence. That was the night I decided I wouldn't stay silent anymore. I didn't explode right away. No, I waited. Sometimes, revenge isn't loud, it's precise. I began to gather the pieces of truth she had hidden for years. Because while she called me a burden, I knew the skeletons in her closet. She pretended to be generous, always donating to charity in public. But I knew she had embezzled money from her own brother when he was sick. She bragged about her perfect marriage, but I had found letters proof of an affair she had years ago. She told people she supported me financially, but in reality, I was the one paying most of the bills after my husband died. For weeks, I collected evidence letters, receipts, whispered testimonies from people who had also suffered under her. And then, I spoke at another family gathering. When she tried once again to mock me, I stood up. My voice was steady, my hands no longer trembling. You call me a burden? Funny, coming from the woman who stole from her own family? From the woman who cheated her husband? From the woman who lives off the lies she tells others? Gasps filled the room. People looked at me, then at her. I pulled out the letters, the receipts. I told the truth she thought would never see the light of day. Her face drained of color. For the first time, she was silent. For the first time, she was the one shrinking under the weight of judgment. The empire of lies she had built crumbled that night. After that night, nothing was the same. Relatives who once praised her began to distance themselves. Friends stopped visiting. Her reputation, so carefully crafted over decades, was ruined in a matter of minutes. At first, she tried to fight back. She accused me of lying, of making up stories out of bitterness. But the evidence was undeniable. The documents, the witnesses, the truth, it was all there. Slowly, her mask fell, and with it, the power she once held over me disappeared. For the first time in years, I felt free, not because she was defeated, but because I had finally reclaimed my voice. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about liberation. She could no longer define me. She could no longer control me. Karma had done its work. She was left to live in the shadow of her own actions. And I was finally able to live without fear, without shame, without silence. Looking back now, I don't regret exposing her. I regret only that I stayed silent for so long. Silence can feel like peace, but sometimes it's just another kind of prison. By protecting her lies, I was sacrificing my own truth. When she called me a burden, she thought she was breaking me, but in reality, she was freeing me, forcing me to finally stand up for myself. If there's one lesson I've learned, it's this: never let anyone define your worth. Not a mother-in-law, not a spouse, not society. Your worth isn't measured by their words, but by the truth you carry inside. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is simply speak that truth aloud.